Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be doing a little kit bashing. We're going to be making a passenger platform so that our passengers can get up to this elevated level here on my standard gauge layout. And we're just going to use some materials we have left over from different things that we either bought materials that we didn't use, or some leftovers from other pieces of the layout build, and see what we can come up with. So yeah, let's just jump right into this. I think I've decided on a location. So out of all the spots on the elevated loop, I think this is the best location for two reasons. One, there are two supports right here that I can use sort of in my creation of this elevated platform, so that works out very well. It's also on a spot here on the end of the sort of the one side of the loop. So instead of putting it like over here where it's going to block the view of other stuff behind it, this will work out probably better because it'll be on the side and won't block so much of the other things that are on the layout behind it. So I think this is going to be the spot. Now it is a little weird because it is coming off a curve here, so but we'll see what we can come up with. But we have a couple of pieces of material that we have that we can use. So we have these square tubes that are powder coated green. We have a whole bunch of these we were going to use for a different reason and we never did, so I got tons of these that I can use, and you can bolt them together just like an erector set, really. So we've got those. I did get this material right here. It's like a aluminum plating, which I'm going to use. It has sort of this pattern in it here that I'm going to use, I think, for the floor of the platform. And then we have a couple things we can choose from. We have this Lionel standard gauge template platform here that we could probably either take the base off or do something with there, or we also have one of these Ives sort of covered sheds here that we could also use. So, and we can put that on the top, and then what we're going to do is come up with some way to get the passengers up there. And I do have this little metal elevated crossover here that I bought at a show. I picked up, and I think it's not, obviously not high enough, but we're gonna maybe cut it and kit bash it to get stairs all the way up to the platform, whatever the height turns out to be. And then we have some bolts and stuff and different things that we have that we're gonna just come up with something. Hopefully that'll look pretty cool when it's finally over here across these two piers. So that's our goal. And of course then we'll probably put some lighting on it and things like that, and just come up with a way that our passengers can get up to this scenic railroad. I think the first thing we got to come up with is the length of this platform. Now these here are let's see, what were they? These are 18-inch bars here. So and if I look over here to my Ives shed, if I put the tubing right here, that is actually almost the perfect length for the posts that are on this. So that would work out. And probably on the Lionel one, if I put this here, it's about the same, right? So this covers that length too. So I could use either one of these actually. So I think the the length of these, as far as that goes, is fine. So let's say I put a bunch of these right here. I could probably put these right here, somewhere like that, depending where I want it to be. And I would extend this out as far as I need to get it so that I have the width of the shed or the cover, and then get some stairs that are going to go down. So I'd just have enough room for that. But what I can do is use this as my main support or height, and then I can extend this coming out here with some more piers, and these can all join together basically with bolts and things like that. Now obviously this doesn't have to be super strong for support because it's just holding up plastic people, so, or actually I should say lead people, because they're made out of leads and different things like that. But that's all we need to do. And what's nice about the height of this is if you look at the square tubing height, it's just below the rail here. So it actually, when I put the, if I put some kind of a plating on top here for the floor, it'll actually be just below the rail. So that means that the trains coming around the side here, even on this corner, won't hit or anything because they're going to be higher than the actual platform itself, just a little bit. So that may work out pretty well. The height of these just happens to work out really nice. Now, the plating that I got is flexible, so I need to have a solid base underneath it, and I've got so many of these tubes here, I could definitely put them just one right next to each other and just keep going out like this, and then extend it out with some extra supports to make the platform. And it's just going to be a rectangular platform, nothing special. But I think using that plate on the top will trim it out, and I can actually go the plate right up to the track here, so people will be able to get right onto the train, so it will look pretty good. And that's what we're going to start with. So first I just have to get this sort of base done and mounted. I'm not sure how I'm going to mount it on here yet. Obviously I've got lots of holes here I can run screws through or something like that, but we obviously want everything to be flush when we're done with it. So let me get some of this tubing and come up with an idea of exactly what the shape is going to be and what supports I need. And as far as this is going to be easy because I'm just going to cut this at the same height, obviously, as where we have right now, and that'll make it super easy. I don't have to do any special measuring and anything like that. So, and I still have my blade on my miter saw that will be able to cut through these really easily, so I don't think I'll have any problem with that either. So let's sort of get some pieces, couple of pieces cut, and get these sort of positioned and see what we can come up with. My first step here is I've got some of these square tubings, and I've just put them in the right next to each other, laid them flat. This is the depth I need. So this will cover the platform, whatever platform I decide to put on top of here. So I just put them all in a row, and I put another one below it, and then just ran 2 bolts through it temporarily to hold it together so I could mark the end of this, because this is where I'm going to cut it right here on both sides. And then what this does is it actually allows this to sit on those 2 piers over there, but these don't interact with the piers, so they just hang out, and they will basically allow me to keep these all bolted together. So I don't have to do anything. These are actually really tight in between here because, you know, these holes are not exactly 100%, you know, when you go through the hole on the bottom here. So this is actually really tight right in here. You have to actually tap it in to get them all to fit in there. So they won't even move. I really only need the 4 bolts on the outside to hold that whole thing together. And I'll cut this here, and then what I'll do is I'll put vertical posts on the end here, so I only need 2. And I have these cool brackets that I will show you here. They're like this. But basically they will go on the sides to hold the pier and the end up, and they look kind of cool because they have this cool shape to it. You'll see it when I put it together. But so all you have to do is I'm really only going to have to cut 4 pieces. I just need to cut 2 off of here to make this platform, and then 2 posts. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 3. Maybe I'll put another one like right in the center here or something like that. We'll see. Just to give it some detail. But that's where we're going to start with. So let me get these cut and then bolt this together, and we'll see what we come up with. Here's the platform itself. All I did was I cut 2 pieces right here. You can see, bolted them together. The ones in between here are just, this is just compression fit basically, but it's all flat. Everything's lined up. And let's go place it on the piers, see what it looks like. All right, there it is. It's just sitting on the piers right now. It doesn't actually need any support, but we're actually going to do support here. So we're going to put some posts right here just to make it look like it has some support. Maybe one in the middle. We'll see. We do have to have an area where we have the stairs coming up, so we'll see what we're going to do there. But that's what we're after. And then we'll use those brackets to bolt it. You'll see kind of what it looks like. So let's cut these off and get this done. All right, so far we've got the platform built. You can see these little brackets on the side to hold the vertical posts up, and everything's just bolted together. So pretty good. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna put an extra piece like this on the outside right here to clean up this edge. So we'll bring that out, and that'll just bolt on, so that'll be easy. It'll bolt on to the end here, like so. And then we have the canopy right here. Now these posts right here are wooden posts, and they have a screw hole in the bottom. So I can screw through the hole here in the bottom of the square tubing and attach those there. So on the four corners it actually works out spacing wise. Here in the middle post it doesn't. It actually has to go in between two holes. So I'm gonna have to drill a hole right here on two of these, through these, to get these mounted correctly. And then that should work. Now, unfortunately, because I already bolted this together here, the screw has to come through here up into the post. And on these outer ones, I could probably come out from the underneath and get a screw all the way up there, although the screwdriver bit is going to be too short. So I think what I'm going to have to do is take this square tubing out here and this one out here. Again, they're just compression fit right now, so I think I can just pop them in and out real quick and get the posts here attached down here, and then drill that extra hole in the middle. And what I can do is I can disconnect the top piece here, because this is all glass. I don't want to take a chance of breaking it. So we can unscrew them up here and get the posts mounted on the platform first where they're going to be. Now before we do that, we're going to want to put the finished material that we want to put up on top of here, which is that silver plating. And we're going to have to get that cut and then go right up to the track edge right here. And then this kind of all has to come apart, because these bolts are then going to have to go through that plating. And I think that'll hold everything down, and I really won't have to do anything else. So I think the next step is to get the plating cut. Getting closer, we got the deck basically shaped and cut. You can see it's going to fit right underneath the track in the front here. So passengers will get right up onto the train. And then these three bolts that hold the structure together will hold down the main plate here. And then these are the posts that'll be for the canopy right here. And all I'm doing for these is taking the screw from underneath right here. So all I'm doing is taking a screw like that, putting a lock washer on next, smaller washer, and then bigger washer to take up so it doesn't fall through the hole right here. And that's all I'm doing, and then I just tighten it down. Now, because the channel tubing is all hollow, or not hollow, but has holes in it, right? I can take the screwdriver right up here from the bottom, hold it while I'm tightening it down, and that's how I'm getting these posts on here. So these posts are nice and tight right now, so that's exactly what I need. And they happen to be spaced exactly the way the posts need to be spaced apart. So I got lucky because the holes in the middle of the channels lined up correctly. So I've got two on this side. I'm going to put the two on that side, and then there's two in the middle. And now the middle ones don't line up. They don't line up with a hole. So what I'm going to do is, after I get the four posts on and see where the middle ones lie, then I'll kind of just drill a hole right down through the steel, and then run a screw up from the bottom for those two. So we need to get these 6 posts attached here for the canopy. All right, so there we go. We got the canopy. It's all solid, and it's attached, screwed from underneath within the channel. So I just took a screwdriver, went up, and tightened it up. So those went on pretty cleanly. I did put a bar here, just a plate that connects the platform to the track bed to keep it solid so it doesn't move away. As you can see, the actual flooring there goes right up to the rail, so it's just underneath the rail, so that's really nice, takes up all the space there. And I finished it off with just a trim piece on the outside here to cover all the openings that were on the end there. Doubled this up, and that all that does is hold up this piece in the back here. Now this piece, I don't have any way to bolt it, so right now it's loose, but I'll just use some hot glue because it's not doing anything for support or anything. It's just there to finish out the back edge here, and that's pretty much it. So that's kind of what it looks like, and it will obviously have stairs and everything that's going to go with it, but you get the kind of a idea what it's going to be. Now I think I'll do, and I'll look for some standard gauge benches maybe to put inside here, right? There'll be all kinds of people and stuff like that. So, and maybe even some fencing or guardrails or handrails or something around the sides. I don't know. Well, that's not critical right now. My main thing is to get the actual platform finished with the stairs and everything, so then I can start putting the rest of the stuff in this section as far as buildings and stuff like that goes. So yeah, so and I think what we're also going to do is we're going to take these street lamps we have here, and we're going to put them right on the edge here, sort of like that, and we'll put those on two sides right here to light up the platform. So, and that's where we are right now. So let me keep going here. We got to work on the stairs, see what we can come up with that, get these lights mounted, and work on it and see how far we can get today. We got our stairs that we need to get up to the top. So what I did is I took the, so this was the crossover. So I cut the platform off the bottom of this stair, came over, and I cut this in half right here for where it crossed over. And then the other piece, I basically just cut off the crossover piece of it, and I left the base. And I just kind of put them on top of each other. The stairs kind of mesh together. And I just used 2 screws here to join them together, which of course right now are sticking out, but we'll get a Dremel and we'll cut all those off. We'll smooth down the rivets that we broke off there, and pretty much at the end here, then we'll just put a single screw to attach it to the top of the platform. So that's our sort of little kit bash stairway that we're using out of our old little metal crossover that we found at a train show, and we'll clean it up. We'll do a little Dremel cleanup, but it actually looks pretty good, and it'll fit kind of like this when I'm finished with it. So it'll be kind of like that to get up to the platform. So we gotta get it all cleaned up, and then a little sanding, and then we'll give it a coat of paint, and yeah, it'll be ready to go. I'm not sure what color we'll paint it yet. Not sure. I think green is it'll blend in too much. I think we want it to stand out. Maybe we could do the cream color, or maybe a gray or something. We'll see, but we'll pick a color, and then we'll get it all set up. Maybe I'll do red to match the canopy or something. So, and that's it. That's our little kit bash stairway. All right, guys, so here's our finished stairway after we got it painted. So we painted it that Luck of the Irish Green, I think it was called, in that Bear spray paint. And it's a nice glossy green. It sort of matches the green on, I don't know, maybe the Stephen Gerrard cars, or it's kind of like that apple green type of thing. So it works out. So I did that, and what I did is at the top here, I just put underneath this part up here a 3M command strip to hold it to the platform at the top instead of doing a screw, and I just have one screw at the bottom that holds it down, and that's pretty much it. I got a couple of, I had a pair of these. I only had one pair of these little lights here. They're more sort of O-gauge style, but they're die-cast lights, so I decided to put those on each side of the entrance of the stairs here as you go up. And then when I came up to the platform, I decided I needed something to hold the passengers on so they wouldn't fall off the platform. So I have this fencing that I just painted the same color as the stairways, and then I really just kind of glued it on the platform floor right here. So there's a glue that I use. I'm just going to show you right here. It's called Gorilla Grip. It's a contact adhesive. This stuff is really good if you want to glue something down permanently. And what's really nice about it is that it's instant hold. So unlike a lot of other kind of like these liquid gel glues where you have to hold it in place or tape it in place or do something, this actually holds it almost instantaneously. So it's almost like a contact cement, but you don't actually have to apply it, wait till it dries a little bit, and then put it down. You can just apply it and you stick it right down, and it's almost like instant hold. It's almost like super glue, but it's actually better. So I just ran a little strip along the bottom of the fence, and then you just plop it down, and that's pretty much it. Because this fence is like, it's almost like a vinyl, so it's flexible. It's not a stiff, hard plastic. So it wanted to move on me, right? So using this glue actually just, it instantly holds, which is great. And like this little area right here where these don't line up right here, I can just put a little tack of glue right there. That'll keep them all lined up right here on the edge. So, but yeah, I just ran a little fence around pretty much the edge of the flooring here, right up to the stairs coming up and then around, and that's pretty much it. So now I got one other thing to do before we finish out this platform, and that is I wanted to put some lighting up on the platform itself. The top of the canopy is actually clear glass, so I didn't want to put like LED lighting up there and then see wires running and all that kind of stuff. Plus then I'd have to have wires running down the post. I thought it would be kind of ugly, so I decided against that, even though it would be kind of cool to have it lit underneath here. So instead, what we're going to do, we had these pair of goosenecks here, single gooseneck lamps in the same sort of green color. So we're just going to put them on the end, like right there, on each end of the platform, and then wire them up. Now, the thing about these are, these lamps, all these die-cast lamps, the way they work is they have an insulated terminal, which you can see right there, has a little white insulator on it. That's for the positive side. And then the negative side is just the other terminal, which actually, if you look at it, is just connected to the entire post itself. So the entire post is the negative part. And the problem is, remember, everything up here is metal. And it actually goes and rides up against the outer rail there of the track, right? So the lamps are actually powered by a totally different transformer. So I don't want these things interacting with each other, right? So if I just mounted these directly on the platform and then applied power to this, I got power on the track, and then I got sort of two negatives happening simultaneously, it's going to create issues, right? So what I did is I created these little wood blocks right here. I just painted them the same gloss green color, and then I glued these down with that Gorilla Glue stuff, and I let that sit for a day so they're solid. And what I'll do now is I'll just put these lamps right here on top of here, and I'll screw them into the wood here. So this is my sort of my insulator between the lamp post and the metal platform, basically. And that'll keep it separate. And then I'll run my wires down below the platform and hook it up to the power supply that's powering all the lighting on the layout. One other thing about the lamppost is, you know, of course all these lampposts always have these two terminals right here, and then the wires are supposed to come off those terminals and they go through your layout. So you always have this sort of this ugly wire thing going on these terminals. So what I'm going to do, which is a little more work, but I'm going to do it on any of these lampposts that I have these two terminals on that are exposed. Now there are, by the way, there are some that don't have them exposed. They're connected from underneath, but I'm going to make these be connected from underneath for my wire. So if you look underneath here, you can see it's really just all you really have is the two terminals. One's insulated, one just goes to the actual base itself, right? So I'm just gonna power my power wire right to the power one on the insulated terminal, and the other one just gets mounted right underneath the nut that right there of the one for the base. And then that way I can run them directly from underneath the lamp down through the layout, and I don't have to have any wires sticking off the terminals. The terminals will still be there, but basically, like when you look at it like here on the thing, that's what it's going to look like. You won't see any wires coming off of it. So it just makes it a little bit cleaner, and we're going to do that for these since they're easy to do. It's because this is all just you know, a nut on the bottom here, and you're going to put your wires underneath those nuts, and as long as you make sure that the positive one is still insulated from the actual post itself, then you're good to go. So we're gonna do that, and what that's going to let me do here is I can drill a hole right on this side right here and go right through the hole in the channel tubing right down, and I don't have to have wires showing here and then running down through here and all that kind of stuff. So let me get these two lamps wired up, and then we can take a look at their finished look. Another quick thing I did, I'm using this 18 gauge bell wire here for pretty much all the lighting accessories and stuff like that. It's solid core, you know, wire. And the problem with it though is it comes in this red and white coloring. You know, it's a two wire twisted that comes in this red and white, and it kind of sticks out against everything on the layout. So I decided, like, for some of this stuff where I have to run it up along posts and things like that, that I would try something a little bit different. So instead I got this stuff right here. So this is actually thermostat wire, but it's the same 18 gauge 2 conductor wire and solid copper. And you know, basically it has this nice sort of little sheathing around it, right, that keeps the two wires together, first of all. And then it's sort of this brown color, which will blend in a little bit better when you're running it down posts and stuff like that. You won't notice it as much, right, as having this bright red and white running down there, twisted wire, 2 wires and everything. So, you know, just another little tip, like if you want to hide some wires, but you do need to expose some and run them up and down posts or something, thermostat wire is a good choice because it comes in, you know, the 2 wires are under one sheathing, so it looks like one wire, and then this comes in different colors. So depending what color you want, you can, you know, get whatever you want. Would have been nice if I could have found it in green, which I couldn't find any in that color, but brown's fine because it'll still blend in with the dark colors of the layout. So, but just another little tip, I'm gonna pull these out right here, and then I'm gonna use this stuff to run it up to the lamps at the top here. So you can see right here, all I did was I took the white wire, the ground, I loosened this little nut there, and I just wrapped the wire around it and tightened it up. Really easy to do. On the positive side, that's insulated, I took the connector or the little terminal off. You can see it right here. The little terminal off that. Just put the nut back on, tighten it back up so that keeps that together. And then my hot is just going to be wrapped around this little terminal here, and I sort of squeeze it and pinch it with the pliers almost to like crimp the wire around it. Now this wouldn't work with stranded wire, with solid wire does, and that's actually really tight, believe it or not. All I'm going to do is wrap this with some a little electrical tape to hold it together and insulate it, and then this just gets pushed up inside the bottom here, and now this is wired internally instead of seeing it on the outside here. I could solder this if I wanted to. It's really not necessary. It's a super tight connection. I mean, if one ever comes loose for some reason, I certainly could just quickly take it off and then, you know, tap it with some solder or something, but I don't think so. Once I put I'm going to use cloth tape, the cloth automotive tape. That stuff is super sticky, and it just won't allow this to move. If you use a vinyl electrical tape, you know, a lot of times that doesn't really hold as well, but the cloth stuff will. And this right here is really tight right now. It doesn't even move around on the little round terminal connector on there. So, and the reason I don't want to solder it is because if I ever decide to get rid of this layout and sell all this stuff, I can put this back to the way it was originally, and there's no damage, and I don't have to desolder and go through all that hassle and everything like that. So, I mean, honestly, nothing's really moving around, and it's just a light, so you'd be able to tell right away if you get a bad connection or something like that. So I'm not really worried about it that much. So, but like I said, I am crimping it with a crimp, this little sort of like wire cutters to give it a good crimp on the copper wire that's wrapping around the little terminal there, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, so I'm making these first so that I can get these set. I'll cut this here and then I'll run it through the layout, and then we'll reconnect it below to get it over to the terminal block. But this will be easier. So let me get the other one made, and then we'll show you how we mount them through. This is the tape that I'm talking about. It's a black cloth tape, and this is, if you're familiar with electrical automotive wiring, if you've ever had a car apart or pulled out some of the wiring, you know that this is the stuff that the automakers use to wrap the wire looms. So all the bundles of wires, and they get wrapped in this sort of black cloth tape. This stuff is super strong and it is super sticky. Like once you stick it, it doesn't come apart. You have to basically cut it off to get it off. So I'm just using that only because I don't really need electrical, it's thick enough that as long as nothing's poking through, it electrically isolates everything. Now, it's not meant as an electrical isolator. That's not its purpose. It's really meant to wrap wire looms and stuff like that. But it works in my particular case for such a small little connector and everything. And, I wrapped it around just a couple times, and it's nice and thick. This will insulate everything right here, and that's all I need. So, and that's it. So again, if you're not familiar with this black cloth electrical tape, this stuff is awesome for a whole bunch of different uses. Let me drill the hole in those little wood blocks I was showing you earlier. We'll run the wire through, and you can kind of see how the finished look is. You can see I drilled a hole in the wood. It went right through to this thing, and you can see I'm running my wire through. I just pushed my wires up into here, and so this will come right down now into there and set right on the platform. No ugly wires on the outside. So let me get this mounted up here, and then we'll get the other one mounted, and we'll run our wires down. You'll see what the sort of final look looks like. That's the final finish, right? So I just used 2 screws obviously to screw down the lamp post, and then you can see the brown wire just runs sort of neatly down the side here. You don't have that red and white twisted, it kind of almost fits right in the groove here. I could probably just put a little tack of glue here and here to hold it down if I wanted to. It's not really necessary, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So you can sort of bend the wire because it's solid core and fit it in there. And that gives a much neater look on the side and also on the top. No ugly wires on the terminals sticking down or anything. So that's what it's going to look like. So we just got to get the other one on the other side. We'll hook it up and then we'll test it out. So you can see on the bottom here, I just use those 2 lamps, but there's no wires here, as you can see, coming off the little terminals or underneath. Same thing with these lamps up here. They're just underneath, and the wires just kind of run down. There's that, you can see that thermostat wire runs down. And that's kind of how it all plays out. So if you look on the platform here, you can see I've got 5 benches. So I got some benches on each side here, and then 2 in the front with seated figures. And then I've got some people standing here. There's a newsboy selling newspapers. So lots of activity. Got some people coming up through the stairs here. And like I said, there'll be a little guy down the bottom, ticket taker. So now what I'll do is, when I start laying out the streets and the roads, I'll probably just make a little parking area underneath here and just put a couple of vehicles, right? So that'll be sort of the parking area, and I'll put maybe just a couple more figures down here, like a little line of people waiting to board the train. I may add just a little hanging sign on the front here, like something like scenic train rides, $1 or something like that. But it's really just an elevated loop that would be a scenic ride. It doesn't really take you anywhere except in a circle, and that's pretty much it. So that is the sort of finalized kit bash platform we came up with. So I think it looks pretty good overall. turned out really nice, and it sort of fits the theme I'm after here with sort of the erector look. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. All right, guys, we're getting down to the last bit here for the elevated loop, and the last thing we need to do is trim out the edge here of this track bed. So what we're going to do is, I was trying to find some kind of material that looked kind of cool and give me sort of a like an ironwork type of look, and of course I did that kind of thing with the square tubing on the post, right, to give that sort of a iron look, erector set look. And you know, there's all kinds of things you can get. I saw little strips of the shelving brackets that you put inside like kitchen cabinets, those thin strips that you put the little sort of hooks on, right, to move adjust your shelves and stuff. That had a cool little pattern that was just a little bit thicker than this, would have fit right along the edge and stuff. But I wanted something that was a little bit bigger. And actually, I want to get an erector set look. Why not use something from an erector set? So that's what we're going to do. So if you guys have watched my videos, you know I'm into erector sets. And so I've been collecting different erector sets over the years. And there is a steel girder in the early erector sets called a channel girder. And so a channel girder is a 2-inch wide girder that comes in like 6 and 12-inch lengths. And this is kind of what it looks like. So it's the reason they call it a channel girder is it has these little sort of channels on the kind of on the ends of it. You look right here, they're kind of like these little channels here, and they fit together like right on top of each other, you know, and they were normally bolted together, right? So you kind of get that, let me focus, let me get camera so you can focus it, but basically you kind of get that erector set look, right? And so I thought these are perfect for what I'm after because they're really wide, right? Which will hang down from the track bed and give me a really cool look. And it's got this great pattern on it. You've got sort of this offset square in the middle with the two holes on top, and then you have a hole there and then two little triangles. So it gives a really cool kind of look. The problem is that these are the hardest girders to get because the little 1-inch girders, which are half this size and don't have this cool of a pattern, are easy to get. You can get hundreds of those online very quickly. But these 2-inch channel girders are hard to get. And when they do come up, they go usually pretty quickly, and they go at a pretty good premium price too. So they come, like I said, in these 12-inch lengths. They also come in like these 6-inch lengths too, but they all join together the same way. Now, the thing about these is these are the sort of the earlier girders, and they made these in different finishes. So the problem is if I try to find a whole bunch of girders that I need to, you know, go around this entire loop, if you think about it, on the outside and the inside perimeter, even at 12 inches, it's a lot of linear feet, right? And the problem is they made these in different finishes. These came in nickel plated finishes, they came in cadmium plated finishes, they also came in painted finishes. You can kind of see here there's some yellows and blues and everything like that. So they came in all kinds of finishes, and so in order for me to collect enough of these that I can have enough to go around both sides of the perimeter, it would probably take me a long time, you know, maybe a couple years to actually get all the same finish. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna paint them because there's, you know, no way I could find all the amount that I need in the same finish very quickly. So what I've been doing over the last year is anytime I've seen these, I just purchase them, no matter what finish they were. And you can see I have all kinds of different ones here. I have all kinds of different finishes. I got nickels, cadmium, normal steel, I got painted, and I just been buying them up like crazy not even knowing how much I need, to be honest with you. I'm sure I have lots more than I need. So I got a whole bunch of the 12 inchers, and then I've got a whole bag here of the 6 inchers. So I should have plenty for what I need. So my next step is actually to take these and actually paint them all the same color. So I'm just going to use a silver metallic paint on them. It's actually the same paint I'm using on my Lost in Space robot build, but and they'll just get a quick paint job on the front face. You won't see the back face really, because when it's on the track bed here on both sides, you're not going to be able to really see in between. So I just have to give it a quick coat on the front face here. It's still a lot of painting, but it's not too bad. It's pretty quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these girders and we're going to put them on the side here. And what we're going to do is on the bottom edge right here, where it kind of goes straight across here, that is going to line up with the bottom edge of the plywood here. And so the holes, the top holes, will be running along the plywood. And then at the ends, I can put some screws. So I've got some short round head screws. So they're going to kind of look like rivets that we're going to put there on each end. And as you can see, they're flexible, which is what makes them nice. They're stiff, but they're flexible at the same time. So this will fit right around here like so. And it's going to give I think a really cool look when it's finished. And I can probably do 3 screws, like one on each end and then one in the middle for each one of them. And then if I want to, I could also do a screw on the bottom just by screwing the 2 ends together, depending how flat they fit when they're coming around the curve there. And just a screw and nut, and I could just to keep it consistent and make the look consistent, just do a screw and nut like in the middle there too. So that's what we're going to do on there. Now on the wood here, where it does show through the holes, it does show the plywood. So what we're going to do first, before we put these on, is we're actually going to take some silver duct tape and we're going to put it along the edge right up to the felt. And then we're going to trim it off on the bottom so that when the girder is on here, the silver is showing through the holes and not the plywood edge. And that's it. That's all we're going to do. It's, simple process really, but it's going to take, I think, a lot of work between the painting and then getting them on there. And then of course we do have to, around these ones here that have the posts, right? So if you remember, we have some supports here that have posts on them. So we're going to have to obviously cut around here, but we want to keep the metal trim along the plywood. So the ones that do have the post sticking out here will require a little work, but it shouldn't be too hard. So anyway, that's what we've come up with our finish. So again, these are called erector set channel girders, and they're 2 inches wide and 12 inches long or 6 inches long. It came in just those 2 sizes. And so I think once we get it all on, they're going to look pretty good. So I'm using a Rust-Oleum, it's called titanium finish. So it's just a silver paint that has some silver flake in it. So I think it'll look pretty good once we get it, pretty much all painted. But we've got a lot of these to paint first. And then we'll, start mounting these. In the meantime, I can, while I'm waiting for paint to dry in between coats here, I can do the duct tape and just get it around the edge here, trim off any extra felt that happens to be there, and get it all prepped and ready to go. So that portion is going to take me a little bit just to get the duct tape going around there, because it's fairly long. I mean, you've got probably at least, let's see, 16, 17, 18, it could be anywhere from 20 to 25 linear feet per side. So, probably talking about 50 linear feet of work along the entire edge for, sort of both sides of the platform, the track bed here on the upper loop here. So that's what we're going to do next. So I'm going to get the duct tape going. I do have a set already outside, first coat painted. So we'll get a little bit done today and take a look at it, but it's going to take me probably a couple days to get all this finished. All right, so we got the duct tape all along the edge here, as you can see. So we're ready to put on the girders. Now, one of the things that we have to take into account here is this spot where on one of these where the plate actually comes out past the track bed. We have to deal with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a girder and we're just going to take a metal snipper, and we're just going to cut out a section of it. And so you see what happens is I'm going to put it here, and this will slide right here perfectly. And then, because it's on the end, it'll get a screw right there, and that will be how we get around our piers here, where the top plate actually sticks out past the track bed. So I just used one of the painted pieces just as a test piece to see how it would work. And so I'm just going to really just cut out that little, as you can see right here, just cut out that little X in the middle there and on the end, and then it'll be like that. And then I'll do a little bit on another one on the other side right here, and they'll join together with a screw right on the end top here, and that's what will hold it all together. So that's pretty easy, couple of quick snips, and we should be good. So that worked out really well. We've got a assembly line sort of going on here. We've got stuff outside getting painted. These I brought in here to sort of do their final dry here, but that's kind of what they're going to look like. Like I said, this is a Rust-Oleum silver paint, so it looks pretty good. So I just have a lot of painting to do to get a lot of these girders done, and then we're ready to just start screwing them on. They should go on pretty quickly once we get them all painted. They should go up, fairly quickly. We just have to do a little cutting around those extensions that stick out. But besides that, I'm hoping it'll only take a couple hours to get them actually installed with some screws, but I guess we'll find out. So here's a first look at kind of what it's going to look like when it's finished right here. So what I've done is I started here at a end, and I just cut it out so it's on there, and I put a screw in the middle, and then I start joining them together. Now on the bottom here, right below here, I'm going to put a screw and a nut right here to hold the bottom where they join together right here. And I can absolutely put any amount of screws I want to along here. For right now, I'm just doing 3 per strip, just to get it up and everything lined up and done. But once I get it all on here, if there's any gaps, where it's kind of like wavy or something along the edge, I can pull it in with a screw anywhere I need to. And I'm also going to, the paint is technically dry, but it's still in that phase where if you press on it with your fingers too hard, you're going to put a fingerprint on it type of thing. So it's dry, but not cured completely. So I'm going to let this, I'm just mounting it to get it on here and I'm going to let it dry for like a day or two. Then I'll come back. I'll put the final screws on the bottom here with a nut to join it together. And then as I'm going down the line, I'll just tweak it a little bit, bend it in and out or whatever, just to make sure it's all smooth as it's going around. But it's actually pretty good just the way it is. So if you kind of stand back from it like here, you kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. Now, originally I told you before I was going to make this line right here, even with the bottom of the track bed. That didn't work out because I didn't realize that when the hole's down that far, it's too close to the edge of the plywood and it actually doesn't hold and it comes through. So I needed the screw to be in the middle of the plywood. So luckily that silver duct tape, makes it, you don't notice it as much, okay? So that is one little thing that didn't work out as I planned, but that's okay. I think it still looks pretty awesome the way it is. So yeah, so I got a lot of painting and screwing and bolting to do here, but we'll come back when it's all finished. You can see I just got a matching sort of size Phillips screw and machine. It's a machine screw with a nut on the back, and that's how I'm tying the bottoms where we attach it to the top where the
girders overlap and pulls them together really nice and keeps the curve going around and shape nice. And all I did, if anything's just a little bit out of shape, you just bend it with your hands and you're pretty much set to go. And that's pretty much it for the trim on the upper track bed. Now, one little note here, because I put this 2-inch drop here, right, you have to remember that I'm losing 2 inches in clearance, right? So that means only certain trains can run on this lower loop because, you know, I'm losing 2 inches and I'm losing that height and they're going to bang into it. So fortunately, almost every engine will run underneath here with this clearance I have. The only ones that won't run are like the 408s. They're just a little bit too high, so they're going to be relegated to the upper level in this case. And I'm not sure if the 381s, they might be a little high too. But all the 400Es and everything down below from there have plenty of clearance. Hiawatha, Vanderbilt, the like number 6, number 5 steam engines, that kind of stuff, no problem. But yeah, the giant height ones, the ones that are really high, will not be able to run on the lower level because of that height restriction. Now, that's something that, again, you know, this is one of those things you discover sort of after it's too late, because you try to plan ahead for everything, but I had no idea in the beginning when I started this whole level what I was going to use as the trim on the side here. And it didn't even occur to me that I would have to take that into account. At first I thought I was just going to have some kind of little trim along the edge here that would be the same thickness as the plywood. This obviously turns out much better as far as its look, but it does then take up some of your height. And you know, if I had thought about it, and if I had known I was using this actual trim for the upper level, I would have had to raise the hell gates up, you know, another 2 inches, and all the posts, right? So just, those are the types of things you got to try to think ahead if you can. So planning ahead what you're going to do is great. It doesn't always pan out that way, only because, you know, this sort of happened on the fly as I was developing it, and that's just the way it goes. So now, originally I would have left tons of space to accommodate this if it wasn't for my walls, right, and all the shelving and the TV that was already there, and I didn't want to move all that, and I wanted to get as much self-shelving for storage as I could. So, you know, I would have lost another shelf if I would have had to move it up. So unfortunately, you know, some of the, you know, that's just the way things go sometimes, but that's okay. I'm not planning on getting any other giant engines like the Super 381 or the Big Brute, which are probably even higher, because honestly, those engines are just astronomical in price on the secondary market, and I have a ton of beautiful standard gauge engines already. So guess what? I can live without those, and we'll be okay. So, just a, you know, side note that just to keep those types of things in mind when you're designing your railroad, and then you know, because obviously I don't want to pull this all out, bring this all up, and do all that. That's like starting over again. So, but you know, those are all the little details that sometimes you don't think about, and they come out later on when you're almost done with the build. We've got one more thing we want to do on this elevated loop before we close this out. Do our final cleaning and vacuuming, track cleaning, and you know, really end this construction of this upper loop. And that is, I thought, since these girders create sort of a space underneath here that you can't see things, right? It hides a lot of stuff. I came up with this idea, it just popped in my head the other day. Why not light the whole underside of the elevated loop? Now, we're not going to use things like the Woodland Scenics Just Plug, because that would just be astronomical in price, putting all those underneath there. Plus, there'd be so many wires running down, so that was not an option. But I figured, why not just go on Amazon and get some LED light strips? And so these are made by Govee, right? I've used these underneath the layout. You saw that in the beginning of my construction. I'm using them underneath, just the white ones to light the layout up underneath there for lighting purposes. But yeah, these are super cheap. This is 100 feet, so it's actually two 50-foot rolls. And it's red, green, and blue, so these have basic colors. And I can, pretty much change the color. It's nice because it's a Bluetooth controlled light strip where you do not have to register an account. I hate every time you have to do something, you got to register account. And then your whole system is dependent on whether those servers out there are active or not, right? So if a company goes out of business, you're screwed because the servers go offline and then all of a sudden your app can't connect anymore and then you're, pretty much hosed, right? That's not the case with these, right? These just connect to your phone directly with a Bluetooth app. You don't have to register with the company or do anything else. It just controls the light strip, and that's a perfect design. So this has you can adjust the brightness, you can adjust the color, and do different things with the app. But it comes with a power supply here and then a switch button. And what it'll be is I'll just put this on the power strip that's controlling all the other lighting, so it just comes on and off with the main switch underneath the control center here, right? And then if I do want to change anything, I can just pull out my phone and change colors or whatever. But, that's pretty much for the most part. Now, the way this one happens to work is they don't make an actual 100-foot, is they have two 50-foot rolls that are joined together right here, okay? And then they come down to this switch and everything. So we're going to unroll these, and what we're going to do is take the farthest end from the wire, and we're going to start right here in the middle and go pretty much this direction with one roll and this direction with the other roll, and then they should meet in the back here, which I'll just drop down behind the layout, and then you put it in the power supply for the plug and everything, and that should work. I think when I measured it out, it was like, I thought it was like around 58 or 68 linear feet, the whole upper loop. So the 50-foot didn't work, and I think this was the best value for the money, right? Because sometimes when you get the shorter lengths, they're a little more expensive. This was $20 for 100 feet, so I think that's a really good deal for a Bluetooth-controlled LED light strip for only 20 bucks. So, and the rest of the extra, whatever it is, can just be hanging below the layout, and so that's not a problem. So that's what we're gonna do. So now these are just double-sided sticky tape, just like the ones down below when I put them on the underneath the layout for lighting. So I'm just gonna start in the middle here on each side and just run them around until we get to the end, and then somewhere in the back here, I'm not sure where it's gonna be, we'll drop it down and it'll hopefully all be hidden. I'll take those three little LEDs. I don't know if you remember in the little 3-portal crossover there, I put little woodland scenic LEDs under there. I'll take those out and I'll just run the whole strip around the entire thing. So that will work out, and it'll be all the illumination will be even across the whole thing. So I think once it lights up, it'll be pretty cool looking, especially with trains running underneath it and everything. So that's my next step. So I'm going to get started on that. Other thing I did was those LEDs. So as you can see, they're sort of lighting underneath the elevated loop here, right? And they're changeable in any color you want. So right now they're just set to blue, but you can change them to any color. You can also do like for Christmas time, you can do like twinkle modes and things where it'll like twinkle between like red and green and things like that. They've got music mode. You can on your iPhone, when you if you play music or something like that, you can dance to the music. So it's got all these little features on the app, the little Bluetooth app that comes with it. But the way I did it is I just have it hooked up to the power strip. So when I turn off the main switch for all the lighting, it goes off and it remembers its last setting. So that's really nice. So it just comes back on the last setting. So you don't have to use the app at all once you set it to where you want it. If you do want to change it, just you open up the app and change the color, do whatever you want to it. But yeah, I ran it underneath the Hellgate bridges all the way around the whole thing. So it turned out really well. So just really simple, quick, running a long 50-foot LED strip, you know, from end to end. So. Alright, so hopefully you can get a good kind of view of what it looks like now that it's all finished here, but I think it turned out really well. Really, the trim on the edges is really what sets it off. And, you know, if I look at it overall, I think it looks fantastic for upper level here. I don't think I could have done any better, to be honest with you. And again, it does give the erector set look because they are erector set pieces, so can't really beat that. So I've done everything on the top loop now, so everything's, I cleaned the track, vacuumed it all up, so we're pretty much set, so we can actually run a train up here. So I decided to just, I actually have never run this train before. I decided to put my Strasburg on here. Just like a little engine right here, as you can see. And there's 3 Strasburg passenger cars that go behind it. It actually is, you're going to see some wheel slip on this because you know, that little engine trying to pull those cars, believe it or not, even though they're lightweight, they do have a little bit of weight to them, and it's funny. It actually needs a little grip. It's too bad they didn't put traction tires on these when Mike remade these, but they don't. They're just wheels. So you'll see it as it's going around. You'll see the wheels like ever occasionally slip and stuff like that. But it runs and it still pulls everything. But yeah, we'll give it a run around the layout. Alright, so here we go. We got our final platform here. You can see I've got, these are all the figures that I picked up at York this past York. That was just a week or so ago. And I picked up a bunch of benches and figures, and I used them all on this platform actually. So that whole bunch I bought was just for this one little scene, but it looks really good, I think. So got a little train coming in to pick them up. We've got the Ives canopy here over it, and then you can see on this side right here there's our lighting. So the 2 goosenecks, got our stairs going down. We got 2 here. We got a little ticket taker on the bottom here taking tickets as people come along.
Now departing from Lehman Place on track 1, the road to paradise.
Alright guys, that's it for the upper level, the upper loop, and we're finished. And that's all we're going to be doing to that. I hope you enjoyed that couple of episodes on the upper loop and everything we did on that. I think it turned out pretty good. So let me know. Put your comments down below. Let me know what you think about this particular setup here. And next, we got a couple of very small things we're going to do on making some small improvements to the switches and crossovers on the track. Besides that, we're ready to start laying everything down. So from this point, it's going to be getting everything out of the boxes, getting it on the layout, and making little scenes around the layout, pretty much, putting some sidewalks and streets in, and guess what? Job done. So that'll be our stage 1 build for our standard gauge layout. So yeah, it's coming along. I hope to be pretty much finished by the end of May, hopefully. And then from that point forward, it'll be just like the O gauge layout, where you just sort of add things on as you're going along, as you find things and little things like that. So we're getting close. We're getting close to the end of the series, but you know, we're not quite there yet. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get notifications about these videos. Put your comments down below. And as always, I will see you guys next time. Peace, guys.